सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। 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 We'll do one Naam Sankirtan. जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम देवगणार्चित राजा राम देवगणार्चित राजा राम मुनिमन ध्यावत आत्मा राम मुनिमन ध्यावत आत्मा राम जनमन रंजन पावन राम जनमन रंजन पावन राम भवभय भंजन सीताराम भवभय भंजन सीताराम जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जय श्री राम जय रघुराम जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम जानकी जीवन सुंदर राम सुंदर राम सुंदर राम। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Hari Om everyone. You are seeing a new setup over here. So greetings from Trinidad. I had to travel for some immigration related paperwork. So that's why this class I'm doing it remotely. So we'll have our Kathopanishad class will continue. I know a little bit of portion is remaining in the second Valli. And some of the mantras might be a recap of what we've already done, and we'll try to conclude our reflection on the second Valli. So let us start with mantra number 20. We'll just chant 20, we have seen it before. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan, Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan, Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam, Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam, Tamakratuf pashyati vita shokah, Tamakratuf pashyati vita shokah, Dhatu prasadan mahimanamatmanah, Dhatu prasadan mahimanamatmanah. So in this set of mantras, Yamacharya is elaborating the nature of Atma. Nachiketa had asked, "O teacher, please let me know clearly, elaborately about the nature of truth." So Yamacharya says here, Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan. It is smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Means it is a substratum of both. It is neither small nor big. It is recognized in one's own heart. Atma se jantor nihito guhayam. But who will see it? Tamakratuh pashyati vita shokah. The one who is desireless, that person comes to see this. Crosses over all sorrow. Vita shoka means doesn't have any sorrow, having seen his own true nature, his own higher self. And dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmanah. When mind and sense organs cooperate, he comes to know the glory of Atma. The next mantra is a very unique way of pointing out the truth, where it is pointed out once from conditioned standpoint, and just before that it is pointed out from unconditioned standpoint. So with conditioning, without conditioning, the truth is pointed out. That is the uniqueness in this set of mantras. 21st mantra. Asino duram vrajati, Asino duram vrajati, Shayano yati sarvatah, Shayano yati sarvatah, Kastam madamadam devam, Kastam madamadam devam, Madanyo jñātumarhati, Madanyo jñātumarhati. Before we enter here, we have to think about some examples which I have discussed previously also, which will help us understand how it is complete knowledge only when we know the truth without conditioning, with conditioning, both ways. So one simple example we had seen was of crystal and cloth, or crystal and red flower, hibiscus flower. If it is kept next to each other, the red color from the hibiscus flower shows up in the colorless crystal. But when you are seeing the crystal appears red. Now if somebody says, "What is this crystal? How will you define it?" Or if somebody wants to point out to get that crystal which is kept in the adjacent room, the instruction could be, go and get that red color thing, red color crystal. Now redness doesn't belong to the crystal inherently, but because of that conditioning it is appearing red, but it is good enough for me to identify it. But if I have to clean that crystal, and if somebody thinks that redness is an impurity which has come to that crystal and he starts scrubbing it, what will be the instruction to that person? That crystal is colorless, redness does not belong to that crystal. In the same way, consciousness by itself is unconditioned. But when that consciousness, along with Maya, they combine together, as though they have combined together, what we see as this world, that is the same consciousness along with conditioning. The modifications, whatever are seen in this world, belong to Maya, but the substratum which is there, that is pure consciousness. So how will that truth be pointed out? one way of pointing it out is with conditioning. And another way of pointing it out is by negating all the conditionings. So that is the method which is used here. First one, Yamacharya says, Asinaha. That truth, that consciousness is seated in one place, means it is unmoving. At the same time, he says, Duram Vrajati. It goes far. Now you wonder, how can it sit in one place and also go far? So you have to understand, sitting in one place, or that consciousness being unmoving, is its unconditioned nature. Along with the conditioning of mind, it can travel far. Duram Vrajati. Shayanaha yati sarvataha. Shayanaha means in deep sleep, that same consciousness is recognized as all-pervading. Whenever the mind is active, in waking and dream, due to ignorance we feel we are localized. We feel we are limited by this body. As long as is, or as much is the dimension of this body, that much is my existence. But in our own experience we see, in deep sleep, when mind is removed, when mind is dissolved, mind goes to sleep, that same consciousness is recognized as all-pervading. Shayano yati sarvata. Deep sleep we don't say, I am here or I am there. In waking state, if somebody asks us, we will say, I am in this country, I am in this state, this particular location. All of that is from body standpoint. Consciousness per se is all-pervading, whose distinct expression is noticed in deep sleep. Kastam madamadam devam madanyo jnatum arhati. Who else other than us, who else other than me, Yamacharya says, will know this truth with conditioning, without conditioning. Mada means with the conditionings of mind. Mada is thought of joy, but you can take all other thoughts. So those thoughts, through them we can recognize consciousness. So that is conditioned existence. Amadam means without thought also consciousness exists. Rather, consciousness is existence from which thoughts borrow their existence. So who will know this truth without conditioning and also with conditioning? Only the one who has developed qualifications like Yamacharya. That is his point here. So we had seen an example of also the magnifying glass. You have one sized letter, you bring the magnifying glass, that same letter appears big. So if somebody asks us, tell me conclusively, is that letter big or is it small? You say essentially it is small. The font size is small, but with conditioning, that same letter appears big. It is not some other letter. Big one is different, small one is different. It is the same thing. One is without conditioning, the smaller font. Another is with conditioning, the bigger font. Like that, consciousness without conditioning is asinaha. With conditioning of thought, that same consciousness can go far. Means wherever thought goes, consciousness is there as its substratum. In that way we should understand it. In Bhagavad Gita class we are going to see what Bhagavan wants to say is, I am that ocean in which all the waves are superimposed. That ocean water is pure consciousness, and all waves are representing names and forms in this world. So the applied side of this understanding is, no matter where I go, I should be able to see Bhagavan. That pure consciousness is the substratum of each and everything in this universe. With this understanding, with this mindset, his attention is always on Bhagavan. But we have to get familiar with the way in which this mantra is pointing out, by showing once with conditioning, another time without conditioning. The devotional side of this particular thought process is, if you read stotram like Namakam, where everybody is bowed down to. Stenanam Pataye Namaha. The one who is the chieftain of all thieves is also that same truth, same Chaitanya. The idea there is, Bhagavan alone pervades this whole universe. Within that, he has given us intellect to decide how our action should be, right and wrong. The one who does right actions, the same Lord blesses them with lot of prosperity, lot of peace, lot of spiritual growth. If a person knowingly chooses to do wrong actions, appropriate karma phala is given for that karma also. So Bhagavan is not directly responsible for right and wrong happening in this world, but at the same time, he is the substratum of each and everything in this universe. That is this mantra, 21st mantra. Similar thought is there in the 22nd mantra. Ashariram sharireshu, ashariram sharireshu, anavastheshvavasthitam, anavastheshvavasthitam, mahantam vibhumatmanam, mahantam vibhumatmanam, matva dhiro na shochati, matva dhiro na shochati. Ashariram sharireshu. Amidst all shariras, amidst all bodies, consciousness is that which doesn't have a body. Ashariram means that which doesn't have a body. Where will you find it? Sharireshu. In this body itself, we will recognize that truth which is beyond body. There is one nice abhanga, Deha Devatse Mandira, Ata Atma Parameshwara. This body is like a temple where Bhagavan is seated as that pure consciousness, ParamAtma. That pure consciousness doesn't have a body, but it can be recognized in this body. That's why Shankaracharya's commentary on Brahma Sutra is called a Shariraka Mimamsa. What is he establishing in that commentary? You are not the body. But that whole commentary is called Shariraka Mimamsa because we have to start from here. First, I see only body. Then I see body plus consciousness. Then I understand both are separate. Consciousness is independent, and this body is only an appearance in this consciousness. Then I can say there is only consciousness. But at least I have to come to this point where I add consciousness along with this body. Ashariram sharireshu. Anavastheshu avasthitam. Amidst all impermanent things, there is one thing which is permanent, that is this consciousness. Anavastheshu means in transient things. Avasthita means that which is permanent. The irony is, what becomes an object of our sense organs is only impermanent things. Consciousness which is permanent will never be known through our sense organs. So if my attention is only on sense objects, which are impermanent, I will never be able to shift attention to that truth which is permanent. Anavastheshu avasthitam. That is why at least in meditation they say, close your eyes. Sit down in one place. What is the idea behind it? Idea behind it is, whatever is becoming an object of sense organs, I have to develop the strength to turn attention inwards. That is when we can pay attention to that truth which is permanent. Mahantam vibhum atmanam. When person does that, withdraws the mind from the world, shifts the attention to the self, knows the greatness of that self to be his own true nature. Not this body and mind, but that pure consciousness. Mahantam vibhum atmanam matva dhiraha na shochati. the one who comes to recognize his nature as pure consciousness, once he gets conviction that this is who I am, all sorrow which is there in his life is removed. Looking at the permanent, the sorrow and fear coming from impermanent is removed. Body is impermanent, and when it starts giving up, when it starts giving pain, imagine the amount of suffering that comes from this body. And what has Vedanta done to us? How has Vedanta helped us? How can Vedanta help us face that suffering? Only when I have done sufficient sadhana and shravanam about this fact that I am not this body, I am that consciousness which is unaffected by the limitations of this body. So if this kind of mindset I want, if this kind of conviction I want, when should I be putting forth effort? When body is healthy or when body is in pain? When war is declared, we cannot start preparing for war. That's why the military and all we see, they say when you sweat more in peace, we bleed less in war. Example is just to show that our sadhana should be the strongest, our effort should be the sincere, most sincere and devoted when everything is good. When body is healthy, mind is calm and peaceful, that is when I should strengthen this understanding about my higher nature, about nature of Bhagavan. That is this 22nd mantra. 23rd mantra is a sadhana mantra actually. 23rd and I would say also 24th mantra, both are sadhana related, very beautiful mantras. Who will get this truth? How will I get this truth and who will get it? If this is what the nature of truth is, what should I do so that I can also gain this truth and be free from sorrow? Be unconditionally happy, unaffected by ups and downs of this world. What should I be doing? 23rd mantra. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyah. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyah. Name dhayana bahuna shrutena. Name dhayana bahuna shrutena. Yame vaisha vrunute tena labhyah. Yame vaisha vrunute tena labhyah. Tasyaisha atma vivrunute tanum swam. Tasyaisha atma vivrunute tanum swam. Upanishad first points out what are the ways by which this truth cannot be known. Na ayam atma pravachanena labhyah. This atma cannot be known by studying lot of Vedas. One meaning of pravachan is Veda Adhyanam. Study of all 4 Vedas, if somebody can do. For that we will have to listen to pravachan. That is why the meaning of the word pravachan is also called as Veda Adhyanam, study of Vedas. Or you can take the popular meaning. Pravachan means to share these ideas with others. Either in a formal setting or even if you are talking with your friend, relatives about this truth, that is called as pravachan. Whatever you explain or try to explain clearly, prakrushta vachanam, that is called as pravachan. Elaboration on a topic such that we get clarity about it. Na ayam atma pravachanena labhyah. This atma is not gained by giving lot of discourses, by sharing this idea with others. If let's say somebody says, this person has transformed or shared this knowledge with so many people, is there guarantee that he knows the truth? Upanishad says no. Na ayam atma pravachanena labhyah. Na medhaya. If somebody says, I can memorize all Upanishads, I can memorize Bhagavad Gita, can I say, I have known the truth? Upanishad says no. Na medhaya. Okay, somebody says, I have attended lot of discourses. Whatever was available, everything I listened to, even now I am listening. Can it guarantee that I will know this truth? Na bahuna shrutena. Not by listening. Now remember, all these three things were praised in Upanishads only. In 18th chapter, Bhagavan Krishna says, the one who shares this knowledge with others, with the right spirit. That is the clause he adds, and that is the key for this mantra. The one who shares this knowledge with others, with the right spirit, that person is dearest to me. When he is doing pravachan, when he is studying scriptures, Bhagavan says he is doing my pujanam. He is worshipping me. That much praise is there for pravachan. Medha, if we don't remember, we cannot think. This is true with any field. Who is considered as a good doctor? One who has in his medha, one who has in his memory, the past history of different cases. And when a case comes in front, patient comes in front, he is able to cross-connect, cross-reference. You'll notice this in a good lawyer also. Who is a good lawyer? One who has good idea, good recollection of previous judgments in other cases that he can cross-reference for his present client. Similarly, in scripture study also, when we remember other things, our memory helps us in doing vichara. It helps us in contemplation. It helps us in getting clarity. And if we don't do Shravanam, we will not even come to this verse. This particular verse, how did we listen? Only when we started doing Shravanam. So what is Upanishad trying to say here when it says one cannot know this truth by pravachan, cannot know this by memory, cannot know this by listening? Shankaracharya adds one word. He says, merely by doing pravachan, one will not know it. Merely by memorizing lot of mantras, Bhagavad Gita, there is no guarantee the truth is gained. Merely by doing Shravanam, casually, there is no guarantee that the one who is doing Shravanam will get this truth. Okay, Yamacharya, what is the criteria? He says, Yame Vaisha Vrunute Tena Labhyaha. The one who chooses Atma exclusively, one whose desire is to know the Atma, know the truth, sincerely, wholeheartedly, that person will get it. The examples given in our scriptures are, if somebody's hair is on fire, this single pointed quest for gaining water to douse that fire off, he says that kind of quest is there for this mumukshu. At whatever point, everybody might not get it right away, that kind of a quest. There was a question last time, why do we need to know Atma? Everybody need not be Nachiketa. It is true, everybody cannot be also like Nachiketa. But one thing we will notice, all of us want freedom from sorrow. There is something in our life which is bothering, and Bhagavan has made creation in that way. If he had made everything perfect, nobody would seek Bhagavan. So he has made our life in such a way, time and now there will be some kind of reminder. This is what we call as atrupti, discontentment. Now that we want freedom from, and the way to be free from sorrow is to know the nature of self. There are different solutions given to be free from sorrow. Different solutions which are available to be free from sorrow. This is the highest solution, you can say. Not to say that other solutions are unimportant. They are important, but at some point they'll be short-lived. The solution that it is providing, that particular method, it is not going to take me too far. Otherwise our Upanishads would not have said, in Shvetashvatra Upanishad it is said, if somebody promises freedom from sorrow without knowing Atma, it is as though you are able to roll up this sky and put it under your armpit. If that is possible, then freedom from sorrow without knowing Atma is possible. So we should be very steadfast in our direction of quest. Intensity might vary, that is true, but inside we should always pray to Bhagavan that may you keep guiding me in the right direction. Whatever little spirituality has come, may it blossom more, and may my quest become more single-pointed. So we might not start our quest to know Atma, but we all will start our quest to be happy. Knowing Atma means abiding in happiness. That happiness which is unconditioned by limitations of this body, mind, and the world outside. See, that is why we need examples, role models, whom we can look up to. Just by describing how that state is, it's hard to fathom. So just remember any Mahatma who has inspired. Let's take Ramana Maharshi Ji for example. When we look at them, that is when we realize Yame Vaishya Vrunute Tena Labhya. What is the meaning of this line? We will understand when we look at their life, that the one who sought it wholeheartedly, they were able to get it. They did not seek world also and Bhagavan also. They said, I want Bhagavan and Bhagavan alone. All Mahatmas, Taponji Maharaj, Puja Gurudev, Swami Vivekanand Ji, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they are the embodiments of this line. Who was able to gain this truth? The one who sought it exclusively, that truth revealed itself to them. That is the last line. Tasyesha Atma Vivrunute Tanum Swam. To that person, the truth comes and tells as though this is what is my nature. Understand me in this way. In that way, the truth reveals itself to that person. Any quest done single-pointedly, either in scientific world, in the world of art and forms like music, or in the spiritual world, wholehearted quest, that altar at which we have surrendered, that altar comes and guides us further. So here it is, this sadhaka has chosen Bhagavan exclusively. Bhagavan chooses him and reveals his nature to him. Valmiki Rishi mentions this when he meets Bhagavan Rama. So janahi jehi dehu janaye. That person will come to know to whom Bhagavan reveals his form, which is a very safe path. Instead of taking too much of onus on ourselves, sadhaka says, Bhagavan, my sadhana also you have to help me do it. Because I know whatever I start, how long I can sustain it. Give me the strength to be steadfast, and by your grace, remove this ignorance from my life. Shiva Gita and Ramcharitmanas, Lord Shiva tells Parvati Ji, it is the truth alone which manifests as God's grace. And that grace removes ignorance from our heart. So there was a question last time that when you say grace does something, and that grace belongs to consciousness, doesn't it mean that consciousness is doing something? Consciousness is becoming like some person who is doing and not doing something. On some people there is grace, some people there is no grace. No way we should understand this is, consciousness along with Maya can do everything. And the world that we are living under right now is within the spell of Maya only. That's why in 7th chapter Bhagavan will say, Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. This Maya of mine which makes us feel I am this person, world is real, there is joy in this world. All of that is play of Maya. It is very difficult to escape. What is the way to escape? Mame vaye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. The one who seeks me wholeheartedly, that grace of Bhagavan will make sure this devotee comes out of Maya. Because Maya belongs to Bhagavan, he is the power, he is the wielder of Maya. So he can help us cross this samsara, which is part of Maya only. Yame vaishya vrunute tena labhyaha. The student who seeks this truth wholeheartedly, that student crosses over. Now the second meaning also is there of this second line, Yame vaishya vrunute tena labhyaha. The one whom Guru chooses, that student's ignorance is destroyed. Student might struggle hard on his own and end up strengthening his own ego. If he has not surrendered to any altar, then on his own he might keep struggling and get stuck with his ahankara finally. But the day he surrenders to a guru, the first thing guru will do is remove his ahankara. Teaching will come in such a way that this ego which is our obstacle, that ego will be slowly mellowed down, melted away by the grace of the teacher. And Guru will also bring knowledge, that knowledge which will remove this ignorance. The one whom Guru has chosen, that student will get this truth. That's why we were seeing yesterday when we were doing the Shishyanushāsanam for our Balvihar graduates. The word used there is Antevasi Shishya. Antevasi Shishya means one who is humble, one who has won the heart of his teacher, one who lives in the heart of the teacher. Imagine such a great accomplishment. Guru's heart is shining with knowledge. If the student is able to make his way there, he doesn't have to worry about anything. Material things and spiritual things, both are gained by this Guru Bhakti. Yame vaishya vrunute tena labhyaha. There are so many examples, of students who gained this grace of Guru and they crossed over. The most famous example is of course of Giri, this disciple of Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, who became Totakacharya. What was his qualification? Second line, Yame vaishya vrunute. His surrender to Guru was wholehearted, and Guru chooses him. Guru chooses him and says, destroying your ignorance is my responsibility. Student is available to the teacher, and teacher has taken the responsibility of removing the ignorance. Now one thing we should remember, student is also putting forth effort. He is not a lazy student we are talking about. Because you will hear quotes in both ways. Some quotes you will say, Guru can only give you knowledge, rest of the part you have to do. That is also true. Whom is that instruction to? To a student who is not putting forth any effort. But one who is sincere and hardworking, you ask that student, whatever benefits you have gained, whom do you give credit for? Your self-effort or Guru? He says, whatever I am, that is because of my teacher. That is the meaning of this. Yame Vaishya Brunute Tena Labhya. Next mantra is also about sadhana. Na virato duscharitat, na virato duscharitat, na shanto na samahitah, na shanto na samahitah, na shantamanaso vapi, na shantamanaso vapi, prajnanenainam apnuyat, prajnanenainam apnuyat. Four things are pointed out and said, the one who has these shortcomings, this person will not get it. Now, how should we understand this? The one who has worked upon himself to eliminate these shortcomings, that person will certainly get it. Sometimes you have to put it in the negative connotation so that we understand, if this particular limitation is there in me, then I have to work upon it. So what is the first thing? Na aviratah duscharitat. Duscharitat means sins done at body level. Sins done at body level. The one who has... Oh, what is this body level sin? Body level sin means in our transactions, whatever sharp edges are there in our personality, that is called as duscharita. Speaking untruth, having some kind of hatred towards somebody, having jealousy against somebody. Now this person justifies that shortcoming and he knowingly does these things. One who is striving to overcome these things, he knows that he should not have these things. That person is called sadhaka. But who is this person? He is happy with these shortcomings. He is duscharitat avirtah. He has not pulled himself back from his shortcomings and limitations. He is happily staying with them. Anger is there, jealousy, greed. All those things he sees in himself and does nothing to remove it. Upanishad says, if these limitations are there, one will not know the truth. So lot of our sadhana will be to purify these instruments only. What is being spoken here as duscharita. Every sadhaka will have their own areas that we have to work on. This point, rather all the points which are going to come, they are true if you want results, good results in any field. Even if you take rituals, for example, the one who is living an adharmic life, one who knowingly cuts corners, it is said, even if that person does rituals, the result of those rituals will not come to this person. Because he is duscharitat aviratah. He has not put forth effort to correct his erroneous ways of living. This I had read in one article by Mahaperiyar. Somebody comes to him asking for some guidance on some ritual. He says, can I do this ritual? Can I do that ritual? What is your guidance? And Swamiji knew this person very well. And he very clearly tells him, those people with whom you are living at home, first make sure that you give them love. They are sacrificing so much for you. Can't you not say some good words to them? The other people with whom you work, greet them how they are doing. Ask them how things are in their life. Like this, he gives him a lot of guidance. He had come to ask guidance for some other ritual, and he gives this guidance to that devotee. And finally he says this, na virataha duscharitat. If we don't correct our transactional way of life, the absolute way of living, absolute truth, will remain far-fetched idea. See, in Puranas, this alone is depicted through stories. So when we hear the story of Indra and Virochana going to study with Brahmaji, Indra has to time and again come back to Brahmaji. He has doubts, but finally he clears all his doubts and gains this knowledge. Virochana, on the other hand, had this sense of jealousy. He said, if Indra is going, I will also go. Why should only Indra get this knowledge? I am also capable. So he goes, and just within one class of Brahmaji, he comes back saying that I understood. Completely misunderstanding the truth. He thinks body itself is the truth. Brahmaji told in that way, he said, whatever is seen in the right eye is Brahman. Now he looked into Indra's right eye, he saw himself. He said, I am this body. He saw this body. He said, this body alone is consciousness. The point there is, if jealousy is there, this truth will not be understood. To the extent these limitations or shortcomings we keep working, we keep eliminating from our life, the more brilliant and clear becomes our knowledge of truth. Bhagavan becomes more accessible, approachable, knowable when these limitations are removed. What is it that we need to do over here? First, recognize this is there in me, and mentally remove the auchitya. Auchitya means the justification we might give for these qualities. Internally, I should feel a strong repulsion towards these shortcomings and feel that I have to come out of it. Make a strong resolve to come out of it. Then one will know this truth. So that is the first one. If somebody is not withdrawn from erroneous ways of living, that person will not know the truth. Na ashantaha. Ashantaha means one whose sense organs are turbulent. One whose sense organs are not under his control. Organs of perception and organs of action. That is why in traditional setting, whenever we sit for lecture and all, they will not allow us to move. Sometimes you have this habit of shaking the leg, or if you have a pen, some people have the habit of flipping the pen. Now that is one sign of my own sense organ not being in my control. First is I should recognize this is a shortcoming. I should not have it. If I say, oh, what is wrong in flipping a pen? What is wrong in shaking my leg? Then I will never be able to overcome it. And this mantra says, if our sense organs are not under our control, knowing the truth is difficult. So organs of perception, what I see, bhadram karnebihi shrunuyama devaha. May I see auspicious things, hear auspicious things. To the one who has this controlled sense organs, that person will know the truth. But if mastery over sense organs is not there, na ashantaha, then that person will not know the truth. Third one is na asamahitaha. Asamahita means one whose mind is distracted. Samahita, samahita. One whose mind is well placed in any topic that he has chosen. That is called as samahita mana. If mind is always distracted, going somewhere, anekagra mana, different objects are coming, different thoughts are coming, that mind will not know this truth. Puja Gurudev's quote is there, keep your mind where your hands are. Very beautiful, very simple quote, but very powerful. How should I train my mind to be focused? Whatever work I am doing right now, trying to be there to do that work wholeheartedly. If that is not there, this person is called as asamahitaha, one who has a wandering mind. That person will not know the truth. Then again the word comes, na ashanta manasaha. Ashanta manasa is a very interesting meaning. Whenever the mind becomes quiet, there is a tendency to hold on to that quietude and have some anxiety that may this thing not go away. To the extent mind becomes quiet, this sadhaka feels anxious about the final result that he is supposed to get. If that anxiety is there, then this mantra says that person will not know the truth. Na ashanta manasaha vapi means whatever sadhanas we are doing, our mind should not get anxious about, I am not seeing the result, I am not seeing the result. They say if we do japa, mind will get single pointed, but I don't see that happening. So that adds to more ashanti. So here it says, na ashanta manasaha. One should not have anxiety for a result of sadhana. Particularly when you sit down for meditation, by Bhagavan's grace, if mind becomes quiet, suddenly a person becomes conscious. Oh, this wandering mind has suddenly become quiet now. And the moment you bring that thought, that quietude is gone. So if that thought comes, that is called as ashanta manasa. Always anxious about being somebody in that particular sadhana. Reaching some destination in that sadhana, that anxiety itself becomes an obstacle. But the one who doesn't have it, prajnanena enam apnuyat. One meaning of this is, even though you have this knowledge, even if somebody has this knowledge, if these limitations are there, merely by having that knowledge, one will not abide in the truth. Means I know I am Brahman, but I have not let go of erroneous ways of living. Sense organs are not under control. Mind is not peaceful. And I am always anxious about some result. If these 4 shortcomings are there, even if knowledge is there, it will remain covered. I won't be able to benefit from this knowledge unless these 4 limitations are removed. Prajnanena enam apnuyat. Now we come to the last mantra of this Valli. It's a very cryptic mantra. Yamacharya, he takes a very different turn here. He says, Yasya brahma cha kshatram cha, Yasya brahma cha kshatram cha, Ubhe bhavata odanaha, Ubhe bhavata odanaha, Mrityur yasyopasechanam, Mrityur yasyopasechanam, Ka ittha veda yatra saha, Ka ittha veda yatra saha, Yasya brahma cha kshatram cha, Ubhe bhavata odanaha, Mrityur yasyopasechanam, Ka ittha veda yatra saha. We'll see the literal meaning first, then you see if anything becomes clear. Whenever such mantras come, we appreciate the meaning of commentaries and sub-commentaries. Otherwise, the literal meaning is very difficult to understand. Yasya, of whom, Brahma cha kshatram cha, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, both of them, Ubhe bhavata odanaha. Both of them are like cooked rice. Not quinoa or brown rice. The white rice, when you cook, make it mushy. It is like that. Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are rice for this truth. Akshara. In this particular Upanishad, that truth is called as Om. All are synonyms. Huh? You call it as Brahman, you call it as consciousness, you call it as Om, Akshara. All of them are synonyms. Every Upanishad will use different indicators, but they all mean the same. So what is this truth? This truth is that for whom Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are like cooked rice. Now Yamacharya has some, I think, Telugu influence, because with rice he is eating pickle. He says, what is the pickle for eating rice? Mrutyuhu yasya upasechanam. Upasechanam means side dish, pickle. What is pickle? Kala. Mrityu means kala over here, time. With the help of time, this consciousness as though devours everything. Mrityuhu yasya upasechanam ka ittha veda yatrasaha. Who is there over here who can know Atma in this way? Now what is being pointed out over here? That this truth is that which is the substratum from which this whole universe emerges. So Brahmana and Kshatriya refer to Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. The power of knowledge and power of action by which this whole universe is created. In other words, Brahma and Kshatriya refer to whole Jagat, whole world. So this consciousness is that substratum from which this universe emerges. It is that substratum in which this universe is sustained. And it is the same substratum in which this universe is dissolved. So Kala word has come here to show that consciousness is the substratum of creation. Pralaya happens in consciousness, dissolution happens in consciousness. Emergence of this creation happens from consciousness, and sustenance also happens in consciousness. Means the way I should look at it is, whatever I am seeing in this world, I should see it as a painting happening in consciousness. There is a huge canvas of Chaitanya, Sat, Chit, Ananda, in which different names and forms they are painted. That is the nature of the truth. And whenever I see the world, instead of getting stuck only in name and form, in my mind I should bring this understanding of the substratum, which is consciousness. And that consciousness I am. So where is creation appearing? This creation is appearing in me. The moment I feel creation is outside, moment I feel this is person A, this is person B, this is person C, towards some things I will get attached, towards some things I will create aversion. That is sufficient to keep me in samsara. As long as duality is there, we cannot be free from samsara. No matter how hard we try, something we will get attached. And something we will get aversion towards. Raga and Dvesha. Raga means attachment, Dvesha means aversion. Both will be there as long as duality is there. Now, who will be able to get this clarity? Whatever was said in the previous two mantras. So, in this particular mantra, this sadhana, the spiritual practice, is captured in 23rd and 24th verse. This we had seen in one of the previous class. Bhagavan Krishna summarizes in 18th chapter who is a sincere seeker. Who is the one who will get this truth? How do you know somebody's quest is sincere? He says the first thing is that person is willing to change himself and ready to take upon some austerity. Some austerity should be there. because of which he is able to prove himself, not to others, for his own sake, that he is a committed seeker. Otherwise, imagine somebody says, you keep telling whatever you want to say, I am not going to change. Whatever ways of living I have, that is going to remain the same, but I will listen to whatever you are telling. You say whatever you want. He says, then his quest is not wholehearted. The one who works upon himself, does tapasya, that is the first indicator. Second, he says, he has lot of faith and devotion to this teaching. Wherever he doesn't understand something, he says, Bhagavan, even if I have not understood it, I know this is right. May your grace be on me, by which I can come to understand this more and more. That is the second quality of a sincere seeker. He is devoted to this teaching. And third one, Bhagavan says, he doesn't find any faults. Doesn't find any fault in Bhagavan's teaching. The one who is this way, that person will know the truth because he is a sincere seeker. Okay. Examples, of course, we can see several of them. One of them is, of course, Shvetaketu in Chandogya Upanishad. You see, first when he comes to his teacher, his own father, he is very arrogant. He says, his father asks him, do you know that truth, knowing which everything becomes known? Shvetaketu says, I think my teachers did not know it. That is why they didn't teach me. Otherwise, I am such a good student. I should have been taught, or I should have known this thing. But then we see a complete shift in his personality. Right after that, he goes and does whatever his teacher tells him. 15 days, father tells him to fast, he goes and fasts. No questions asked. Father asks him to bring some salt, water to do those experiments. In Chandogya Upanishad, different experiments he does to show the nature of truth. Shvetaketu does everything unquestioned. And he addresses his father as Bhagavan, his devotion, faith in father's words and teachings. That is the second quality. And not finding any faults. That person becomes a fit student. That person comes to know the truth. So with Bhagavan's grace and blessings, we were able to complete the second volume of this beautiful Upanishad, Kathopanishad. You will notice that Upanishad mantras have their own power. When that mantra comes, when you hear that mantra, the ability and the import of that mantra is very special. So that we were able to reflect. Next semester, what are we going to do? How we are going to continue? We will share more information later. I could not be there personally today, but I miss being present with all of you. And thank each one of you for your wholehearted support. Week after week, you were there for all the classes, which allowed me to reflect. You know, the quality of reflection, all said and done, depends also on the listeners. This you will notice when you start speaking. Whenever there is interest, whenever there is enthusiasm to learn, the speaker also is enthusiastic. We remember and offer our gratitude to Puja Gurudev, because of whom all of this is possible. And we feel very grateful for what he has given us the opportunity to make our lives better by study of scriptures. We seek his grace and blessings to constantly be there with us. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.